Remember when I told you guys I'd be getting testing done before and after the trail to compare how things kind of looked and what the effect of a through hike would have on a woman's body? Well, today we're going to meet with my dietitian, Goss from the Functional Fat Loss Academy to talk about some of those results. Before we meet with her, we'll go over some of the other things that I had done. I went and got a Dexa scan, tested my VO2 max, my resting metabolic rate, and that was just a very interesting set of tests. One of the things I also had done there, you'll see some of these movements, they offered a LiDAR movement test where I really thought it was going to show maybe the movement in my ankles and some of my joints that could give me a little bit of help with the way that I walked, and they would test my gait. That wasn't quite what it was. Although going back and watching the footage of me doing these testings is a little bit embarrassing, I will go ahead and show you the whole process of that.
Push. Good. So they gave you a score of C, so it's based on body fat, lean mass, visceral fat, bone density, all of that, which is right around average. The score for you is about a 73.
Okay.
First thing I like to show everybody is the actual scan itself. So here, green is lean mass, red is body fat. Now we can get into the numbers. So we had your body fat at about 50%. For you, that is about 110 pounds. And then they compare it to your peer group average, so most people around your age are about 33%, so you're a little bit over that.
Yep.
And now we'll go to the trunk, so just the upper body, excluding your arms. We had you at 42.9% body fat in the trunk, or 38 pounds. 10 points over the peer group average, so not too bad there. Arms, looks like a 2-pound difference between left and right. Sometimes it's because it didn't fit on the scan, but I think everything fit on the scan, so that's good. 60.4% body fat in arms, or 19 pounds, 27 points over the peer group average. So this one is when I'd be like, we want to get a little bit more lean mass on the arms. And then legs, 25.3 on the left compared to 26.7 on the right. So that's 1.4. Yeah, it's not bad. But we'll see what it is with the lean mass. The lean mass is a little bit more important with the imbalances. 55.1% body fat in the legs, or 52 pounds. That's 19 points over the peer group average. So I look at the trunk, I'm like, that's not too bad. The arms need a little bit of work, and the legs right in the middle. And now we'll go to lean mass. We had your lean mass percentage at 48. For you, that's about 108 pounds. And your lean mass is 13 points under the peer group average. One thing I will show you though, this is what they consider the optimal amount of lean mass for you. Okay. So they were thinking about 99 pounds would be good of lean mass. You were 10 pounds over that. So that's a good thing, to be over that lean mass optimal range. Okay. Now we go to the trunk. 55.8% lean mass in the trunk, or 50 pounds. 7 points under the peer group average. So it looked like I said before, it looks like the trunk is doing a little bit better in regards to everything else. Arms. Only a 0.3 pound difference, so that's pretty good symmetry there. Your left actually has a little bit more. I don't know if you said you were right-handed, so that's a little interesting, but it's not too far off. Okay. 37.2% lean mass in the arms, or 11.7 pounds. 24 points under the peer group average, and this one is under that range. That's not the most important thing. Like I said, this is what they consider optimal, so really, really good. So I just like to highlight it when it's over. It's like, oh, that's a good thing. Yeah. And then legs, only a 0.6 pound difference between left and right. Right has a little bit more. 43.2% lean mass in the legs, or 41 pounds. 17 points under the peer group average. And again, although this one's under, it's only slightly under. It looks like 42 pounds would have put you at that optimal range.
Okay.
This is your appendicular lean mass index. This is looking at the total lean mass in your arms and legs, so we're not looking at percentages. And this is comparing it to your height. So total lean mass in arms and legs relative to your height. We had you at 9.3 kilograms per meter squared, which puts you in above average, which is kind of going to show the trend of like having a good amount of lean mass in general. They say for you to get under this optimal range, which is like right over here, you have to lose like 9 pounds of lean mass in your arms and legs, which means you have a good amount to work with.
Okay.
And this just sometimes looks into like muscular health, injury prevention, quality of life, and then as you get older, muscle starts to decrease, so it'll give you some insights into sarcopenia as well. So making sure you have more muscle for your frame.
Okay.
And then fat-free mass index, looking at your total lean mass relative to your height. So you were at 20 kilograms per meter squared, puts you in above average, and a higher value means you carry more muscle and less fat in relation to your height. So this is where you want to be. It's another way of looking at body composition and muscularity.
Okay.
So that's good there.
At averaging things out, I guess, or maybe not averaging things out, I have which is very obvious, a high percentage of body fat, but I also have a high percentage of lean mass in addition. Is that?
So it's not that you have a high percentage of lean mass, you have a high amount of lean mass.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so
sorry,
because, with the percentages, if one is high, the other one's going to be lower.
Yeah,
but if we just look at total in general, yours is pretty much in that optimal range.
Okay.
Because again, you could have someone come in that's 100 pounds, 80% body fat, but 20%, 20% lean mass and only be 20 pounds. So it just... It ranges. So we see with you, even though the percentages are a little bit off, you still had a lot of lean mass to make up for it. And then now, this is good news here. So this is your visceral fat. Are you aware of what the visceral fat is? Yeah, so the ones that surround your organ, we had you at 0.98, which is pretty much right in that peer group average. So most people around your age are about 0.9. So slightly over, but not super over where you're like, oh, I really want to focus on this. It kind of goes with the trend of your trunk being really, really good compared to everything else. So one thing I will say, they're going to give you a target, and the target's probably going to be 0. We'll go over the targets at the end. But my target for you is just to get under that peer group average. And then here, this is your bone density. So this T-score is comparing your bone density to healthy young adults. So this T-score will put you in that fair range. So not too terrible. The one thing I tell people is we can't really diagnose anybody with any sort of osteoporosis or anything. But when I see something like this, I just say, make sure you continue strength training, lifting, all that. Do as much as you can, weight bearing, to hopefully increase that. And then if you continue to see like it comes down or something, that's when you go see a doctor. And we had your skeleton at about 4.54 pounds. And then this was a scan right here. Yeah, so VO2 max, we had you about 25. I think if the legs were able to hold on a little bit longer, it might have gone to like 27, 28. But it would put you in that below average. Your peers are about 36. Now we'll go to the resting metabolic rate. So we had your resting metabolic rate at about 1,800 calories. So this is how many calories you burn in an entire day without doing anything. They consider it slightly slow. They predicted it would be about 1970, but this is still a higher number for most people. Now we'll go over here. Resting heart rate was about 73 beats per minute. I'm sure it's usually a little bit higher because you don't get super rested when you have that thing on your nose trying to breathe and survive, you know.
So it looks like there is plenty of room for improvement there. Let's go talk to Kara and see what she has to say about the results of the rest of the testing that we had done.
Everyone, I have told you before a little bit about some of the things that I've been doing health-wise over the last few years. And I've told you, although I am a registered dietitian, I have not been able to do things on my own. Doctors have to see doctors. Dietitians see dietitians. So this is my dietitian, Kara Goss. We actually went to grad school together, sort of.
Yes.
We had a few classes online.
Yep.
So I don't think we ever met in person.
I think we might have one time to maybe work on a project in person, but maybe not. You know, I was trying to rack my brain about that as well, and I could not remember. But it feels like I mean, I've known you for years, and it feels like we've met in person because we went how many years voice memoing back and forth to each other over, you know, our platform and through coaching and everything of that sort. So yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah. So now finally in person, we're doing this interview.
Yes.
And before, I know I've told you guys a little bit about my health background, all the stuff I've looked for, and this is who helped discover everything and get me answers.
Yeah.
But it's not just for me that she does this. How many women do you work with usually?
Yeah, so I would say right now we are at around like 50 to 60 women typically. Now it is, so inside of Functional Fat Loss Academy, which is my private practice, it is myself, I'm the lead dietitian, I'm business owner, so I actually hold a smaller majority of the clients because I'm also doing a lot of the business side of things, all of the business side of things, right? And then my lead assistant dietitian, her name is Risa, she holds a larger majority of our clients. So between us, we're around like 50 to 60, which is actually a bit smaller than most private practices or like coaching teams, but we really try to be intentional with how many clients we're seeing at a time because again, we want every single person to get the best care.
Right.
Yeah.
And it, as a client of yours, I worked with you directly.
Yes.
To me, it feels like I'm the only one.
That makes me so happy to hear. That makes me so happy to hear. Yeah.
I'm not. I know I'm not. I know you work with tons of other women because we have like a group chat support thing between all of us going.
Yep.
But it feels like I have your individual attention all of the time. Now, you mentioned Functional Fat Loss Academy.
Yeah.
I have not talked a ton about your business and what you do for women, so anybody who might be interested in that, can you tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah, for sure. So yes, I am the owner of a private practice called Functional Fat Loss Academy. And I myself am a registered dietitian, certified personal trainers, and I have my master's in nutrition as well. And so we are a private practice that really specializes in all things women's health. So we're talking fat loss, muscle growth, body recomposition, relationship with food, nutrition, training, and of course on the other side of things, the functional health side of things, right? So gut health, hormonal health, autoimmune diseases. And I think a really big missing piece of the puzzle for so many different coaching companies or even for many dietitians is that, you know, a lot of people will go to a dietitian or maybe a trainer or like a separate healthcare professional and they're not able to look at the entire picture whenever it comes to nutrition, training, hormones, gut health. And I truly believe that that is why our clients get the results that they do because we are doing a huge overview for them and we have so many years of experience in training in this. And now this does not mean that we do not refer out and that we don't take an intraprofessional approach as well, right? Because again, like we refer out to rheumatologists, endos, you know, whatever may have you. But again, a lot of times people will go to their doctors and feel really defeated because they're not being heard or getting the help that they need.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's where we come in.
Which has been fabulous. When we started working together, first, I mean, I initially approached you because I was starting YouTube.
Yes, so exciting.
I know.
Crazy.
I'm a dietitian.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, like, there is certainly there's a stigma to being fat to begin with.
Yep.
But if you were a fat dietitian, and I myself was, you know, I would see a dietitian as I was training and I'm thinking, oh, what does she know? She's like 60 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow, hot kettle.
And I think it truly happens to all of us. I mean, I also went through my own post-hormonal birth control journey where I gained 30 pounds. I'm 5 foot, I'm short. Like 5 pounds feels like 15 on me most of the time, right? And so it is so hard to be in that space as a dietitian and be overweight and feel like you know how hard you've worked on your health and your body. Yes. No one else can see what's below the surface.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And when I came to you, my main concern, and no one wants to admit that, I don't think, but my main concern, honestly, was aesthetics.
Yeah.
I did not care how I got there, and as dietitians, I don't remember what the rates are and the statistics are. how I think there are probably very few of us who have not had an eating disorder.
Oh my gosh, 100%. Yeah.
Prior to meeting with you, anytime I have lost weight, it has been through anorexia, bulimia, disordered eating patterns.
Yeah.
I'm just being completely blunt here. Yeah. And I thought, I can't keep doing this. I've got to do it in a healthy manner.
Yeah. And
so I came to you, and then that aesthetics honestly took a back seat.
Yes.
Because I had been seeing specialists, GI. I went to the pelvic pain clinic, saw 2 separate doctors at the Cleveland Clinic. Any urology, endocrinology, any specialist you can think of. I went for 17 years and just got, you're fine. Here, you probably have IBS. You probably have all these other things that...
Umbrella diagnoses, yes.
Here are 15 different prescriptions to hide the symptoms.
Yep.
And then you and I, aesthetics took a backseat.
Yes.
And we started looking at actual functional health.
Yes.
For
sure. And I think too, like something that I always tell clients as well is you kind of have like this triangle of health. You have like aesthetics, you have performance, and you have like functional health, like GI, hormonal health, all that kind of stuff. Whenever you're focusing on one of those pillars, it does not necessarily mean that the other 2 can't be intact, but they will have to take a backseat at some point, right? Like whenever we're focusing on aesthetics and we're, lowering calories, losing body fat, all that kind of stuff, that is going to impact GI health, hormonal health, all of the things. It's going to impact performance. We're not going to be, you know what I mean, performing as well in the gym. So I think that, yes, I think that that's something that's so important for people to understand. And then along that journey of diving into all of this testing, because I remember, and I also collaborate with a lot of colleagues and mentors as well, because we have some incredible people in our space. And I remember telling you, I really feel like there is something going on with the GI, some sort of fungal infection, and then maybe the potential of like mold toxicity, right? And so that's when we did, because you were having a lot of different symptoms, the joint pain, the dizziness, the chronic sinus symptoms, all of these things.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, something big is happening here. And so that's when we did the GI mapping. We found the microsporidium fungal infection. We also did the mold toxicity testing. We found a lot of elevated mold. Right. And so I think those were really the triggers that kind of pushed us into. And of course, yes, we also did the hormonal testing. Like we saw some imbalances in your adrenal health, like cortisol, sex hormones, that kind of stuff, some inflammation. So we knew that there was a bigger picture happening here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And all of that then led to the mold, which no one, not once ever, had it been indicated that could be an issue. And I don't think that even crosses the mind of a doctor or a specialist.
Yep.
Because it's just not, it's not common in their education, they have 3 minutes with you to get you in and out, and like I sympathize. I get frustrated with doctors, but you also have to sympathize with them a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I know. Yes. I'm the same way. I think we're on a very similar page with this, where it's like, yes, we get very frustrated, and at the same time, it's like they're working under such limited time constraints.
Yes.
And they're working under insurance companies that only allow them to do so much, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I just went, actually, before seeing you for this, because the whole point of all of this, if you guys didn't get it by the title or the thumbnail, is that we are doing all of this testing beforehand, so that during the trail, all of these changes are going to happen over the trail. We're going to come back, get all the testing done again, so that I can show you guys what happens to a woman's body during something as rigorous as a through hike. But I saw my PCP just a few days ago for just a quick check-in before, and she asked about my compression leggings, which I'm not wearing today. But I told her, I'm like, I got the invoice for 3 pairs of custom compression leggings. Did I tell you how much these things cost?
I think you did at one point, and I might have just put it out of my mind because it was insane.
3 pairs of these things, and I will tell you, I got them, and they are really helpful. But they definitely don't feel custom.
Yeah.
Like, they're too long, they bunch around my knees, they're painful, whatever.
Yeah.
That, for 3 pairs, the invoice, and I have really good insurance, so I didn't have to pay anything, or else I wouldn't have them.
Yeah.
$16,000.
You're saying 16,000, not 1,600?
Yeah, 16,000. There's an extra zero, not 1,600, which I still think would be unreasonable.
No, I don't remember that number. Never mind. Oh
Yes.
my god.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane. That is insane.
Absolutely bonkers. And you're supposed to replace them every 6 months. Who has $16,000 every 6 months?
How do they expect people to get the tools and the things that they need?
No.
Like, oh man, that could be a whole YouTube video in itself.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I told my doctor, and she's like, that is what is wrong with healthcare right now.
Yep.
Because if you paid out of pocket, they probably would have charged you $100.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, I think that's fantastic. If you don't have insurance and you need this medical care,
Yes.
I'm glad it works on a scale like that.
Right.
But
Right.
how insane.
Insane.
Okay.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
We could let's stop there on that because I could go on a
Seriously,
tangent forever.
we both could.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So let's go through, I think, a little bit about that. We talked about the mold
Yes.
and
The GI.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the background and what else we discovered before and what we've discovered now. I think it's important as women to talk about this
Yes.
because it does affect what the results are going to be at the end.
Yes.
For men, it's so much easier for men.
Of course. Yep. Of course.
But for women, we have so many other things going on that, you know, if you were to hike this trail, it might be a little bit different.
Yes.
Your results at the end.
Yes.
So it's certainly a whole person point of view, but these results are also someone with this type of disorder will have a different result than someone with this type of disorder.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So all of you women who are hiking and have the means to do some of these testing, do it.
Yes.
Get the testing done, put the information so the rest of us can, you know, learn a little bit more.
Yeah, seriously. And I think one of the big things for you too is that, you know, we already know that your body has been under a stress state and it's been in a very hypersensitive state, right? Especially with the hypermobility and also obviously like diminished ovarian reserve, all of these different things that again play a role into how is your body handling stress and how is it kind of navigating it. And so one of the other interesting things on your labs, like beforehand when we had worked together, is that you had pretty low DHEA levels. And so that also played a really big role into obviously like your energy levels, the joint aches, the muscle aches, all of that kind of stuff. So not only with some of the other autoimmune items that we saw happening, but even just with levels of sex hormones, your testosterone levels have always been pretty low. And I think we should double click on that because women do not realize how important testosterone is for building muscle and for sex drive and for just like vitality, motivation, all of the things, joint pain, so huge. I think that women are only ever told, oh, like, you know, they're a little bit afraid of testosterone because with women with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, they often have high levels of testosterone that causes them a lot of unwanted side effects, you know? But we also don't want testosterone to be too low either because that's really, really going to impact us.
Yes.
So, yeah, and I will say that you know, surprisingly, and again, this is the kind of the cool thing about labs is like, that's why I look at you as an entire person, your symptoms, your history, all of the things, and we look at labs as like a snapshot in time. And I think it's really important to understand that we like to look at trends in labs over time versus just this lab said this, so it means this type of thing. But your progesterone to estrogen ratio has always been pretty good, pretty solid, which we like to see. But I would say, you know, those discoveries that we made with like some elevated inflammation, you had some previously elevated CRP levels, which is a non-specific marker of inflammation. So kind of difficult sometimes because it's kind of telling us, hey, there's inflammation somewhere in the body, but we don't really know exactly where it's at or where it's happening. So you had that elevated CRP, and then I would say the mold, the fungal infection, and then you know, some of those other hormonal imbalances that we'll kind of dig into are kind of the biggest things that we saw previously.
Right.
Yeah.
And something I I always forget about, but then I think, you know, man, I'm so tired. I always feel so tired. And I remember telling you at the beginning, like, I am so exhausted all the time.
Yep.
I'll be walking, I'll take a walk around my property, and I'll just think to myself, like, I would like to lay down in the grass right now and just fall asleep.
Yep.
Like, I can't keep going on
Yeah.
because I'm so tired, even if I've gotten 8 hours of sleep. And I actually don't know this time whether it was elevated or active or not, but there's EBV, Epstein-Barr virus,
Yes.
which everybody has had and been exposed to.
Yep, absolutely. And so, oh my goodness, yes, the EBV, how could I forget? And so, you know what is interesting is I do not think we had EBV on this round of labs.
Okay.
I don't think that we did on this one, but the last round that we did, yes, I'm gonna go through here and look. The last round that we did, it was elevated, right? And it had shown, no, we don't have them on this round, but the labs that you had done with me, when was that? You had some EBV labs done with a practitioner of yours. I think it was
the geneticist.
Yes. And then we had gotten some, and what that EBV had shown was either like a past infection or like recurrent like reinfection, right? So I remember it was, because it's interesting when you read an EBV panel, every single one kind of means something different. It's showing like past infection, current infection, reinfection. It can get really complex, right? But we also knew that that was a part of your journey too, and so we did a lot of support for those levels as well. Yes, for sure. So, oh my goodness, that's a huge and that's the thing, is like, this is why I have my notes here, because it's like, that's the thing, is when you work with these cases so much, it's like, there's so many moving parts, and I think it's so easy to just be like, well, like, let's put this thing for this and this thing for this. But again, it's really trying to look at it as like, how is this all impacting each other, you know?
Yes, yeah. And I think it's important too to remember that, first of all, it's a long journey.
Yes.
You're not just slapping a Band-Aid. Like, we're looking at the root of things and trying to fix things from the bottom up.
Yep.
But just because, like, let's say we're clearing the mold, okay? We did that, mold levels were great, microsporidia was gone.
Yep.
I didn't suddenly feel like this. I felt way, way better. And I still feel, even though, like, you know, I took a break with working with anybody, actually, for like the last 6 to 8 months. I guess now it's been a year.
Yeah.
That happened really fast.
It has been a year, because you know what's so crazy is I was looking at your outgoing plan that I had given you, and it was yesterday that I was looking at it, and it was April 6th that I had like sent you or messaged you something about the outgoing plan. So I was like, wow, it's already been a year.
Which is insane to me. It doesn't feel like that. And I still feel, like I've said, I think I said this to you before, I'm the heaviest I've ever been in my life right now, which is perfect for being about to start a through hike. Very true. Very true. God, great on my feet. But I feel better now than I ever have in my entire life.
Oh my gosh, that makes my heart so happy to hear.
Yes, it's amazing, all the changes that we've done.
Yeah.
But I'm still tired, you know, I still have some of these symptoms.
Yep.
So I think it's important to keep in mind, any of you guys, if you are going through some sort of a health healing, whatever you're doing, just because you clear one thing doesn't mean that there's not another thing that might need addressed as well. It doesn't mean that what you're doing for here isn't working.
Yes.
It just means there might be some other things to address.
Absolutely.
And actually, before I forget, I know I keep interrupting and
no,
jumping around.
Oh my gosh, I'm good with it. I love it.
You were talking about inflammation earlier and being in a constant state of stress.
Yes.
Something that I really love about FFLA that you started doing several years ago is when you're talking about the whole person, you started with mental health as well. And I remember we started talking and you're like, Ashley, have you seen a therapist yet? Are you going to address this? Because you can't address your physical health fully until you address your mental health. And I remember thinking, like, shut up, Kara. I don't want to deal with that right now.
I'm doing everything else. I do not need to go see a therapist, okay?
Yes. And then I think you had sent me some podcasts, some things to read, some different things. And I'm starting to learn more about, like, PTSD and CPTSD.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
then you're in chronic inflammation because of that, and your body can't clear different infections and things because of trauma that you've been through before.
The body keeps the score. I have the book somewhere in that bookshelf right now, and that is something so huge that we had talked about, is that your body, your nervous system knows when you are not safe. Your body knows when you are not safe. And so and I can't even tell you the amount of times that I have had, even in the realm of a missing period or something of that sort for a woman, when she's going through a toxic relationship or a really stressful time in her life or whatever it may be, and it's so insane whenever she comes out on the other side and we start to do the work of releasing all of this, how that period comes back, because a period is a huge, it's like our fifth vital sign, right? It's like a huge marker that, hey, body feels safe right now. Our nervous system, it's in check. We're doing good, right? And so, yeah, that was so huge. So, yes, we do partner with a licensed psychotherapist, a mental health counselor. Her name's Julissa Edwards, to give our clients monthly mental health calls. And so we talk about a different topic each month, and it is just so beneficial. And it's so cool also to see the women inside of FFLA just be so vulnerable and share so much about what they're going through in their own lives. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I would, if you had not kind of consistently, you were never pushy about it, but it was always have you thought about this again? Have you thought about this again? And finally I was all right, I've got to do it.
Yes.
And I started working with a therapist and things improved, but I was not fully, I felt like I was fully in, I wasn't fully in.
Yeah.
She was fantastic. Yeah. I wasn't ready, and I was not participating fully. Right. So with this hike coming up, I mean, all you're doing is thinking. You're walking and thinking and walking and thinking.
Yes.
And so I'm I gotta do some more about this.
Yeah.
So I did see I was doing 3 appointments a week. 2 separate therapists for trauma therapy, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Which, if I heard somebody saying this right now, if I was watching this 5 years ago, I would have been all right, get over yourself. No, that's ridiculous.
Yep.
But now going through it, I'm oh, that was brilliant.
Truly. You do not realize the amount that you are carrying. And I mean, we wonder why are 80% of people with autoimmune disease women?
Yeah.
Right? Because we are carrying so much on a daily basis, right? We're carrying the generational trauma, the checklist, the mental load, the, you know what I mean, having to be smart but not be too smart, be caring but don't be too emotional. It's all the things. So it does play a huge role. I would love to really dive into somatic work and things of that sort at some point and get certified in that. There's enough on my plate right now.
So maybe next year.
maybe a couple of years down the line. So yeah, but that plays a massive role for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So any of you out there that are thinking about it, if you're on the fence, just do it.
Yes.
Just try it. I'm telling you, it is worth it.
100%. Yeah. Do you want to dive into the labs?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna pull up all of my notes here. I told Ashley before we started this, I'm girl, I have so much information. So I'm really going to try to make this, really hit on the biggest points that I want to touch on. And I want to start with your Dutch test.
Okay.
So for those who don't know what a Dutch test is, it stands for Dried Urine Test for Comprehensive Hormones. And for Ashley, so there's a few different types of Dutch testing. There is adrenal only, where basically we're looking at the cortisol rhythm throughout the day. And then there's also adrenal and sex hormones, where we're looking at sex hormone metabolites and the different pathways they go down in the body and all of the things. I looked at your sex hormones through blood work, which is my favorite way to look at sex hormones. Yeah. And we just did your cortisol through the Dutch test. So one of the most interesting things is, and again, we saw this a little bit last time, where your cortisol actually was a little bit elevated at certain points throughout the day. But now we are seeing pretty much elevated all day long. So that is super interesting with your cortisol level. So they follow a diurnal rhythm, right? For anyone who's heard the word cortisol and is like, oh my gosh, cortisol just makes you gain weight, right? Like that's pretty much what people know, right? And so it follows a diurnal rhythm where it rises just enough in the morning to give us energy, and then it starts to fall throughout the day so that we can produce melatonin, go to bed, right? Now, again, like we see with your rhythm, it is pretty elevated all day long. So your very first, for a Dutch test, we did 4 different urine draws to gather a collection of cortisol. So we did morning, which was elevated, 2 hours after waking, which was in normal range, but still at that peak mark, you can see.
Yeah.
And then your 5 p.m. was above range, and then your 10 p.m. or nighttime was also at the high end of the range.
Right.
So we are seeing still a lot of stress overall, which is interesting as well too, because in your assessment that you had sent me, you didn't rank your stress levels that high, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so this is what is so important, to be able to look at you as the client and understand, okay, like what's actually going on here. So the really interesting thing is that, so we have something that's called our free cortisol, which is basically, it's the best marker of like overall tissue exposure to cortisol. And then we have something that is called our metabolized cortisol. And our metabolized cortisol is basically the best marker for total adrenal cortisol production. Now, your free cortisol was high during the day, but your metabolized was actually normal. Okay. And so that is telling us that we are having an issue with cortisol clearance. Your body's actually like hanging on to cortisol, and sometimes that can happen with thyroid downregulation. It can happen with liver health items, GI health items. It's also, I think it is an important item to note that I have here as well, is like with the like EDS, that lymphedema, the lipedema, also our lymph is likely not, again, being as, it's not moving as much, it's not being as, like filtered as we would like. Right. And so that can also hold on to and impact hormonal clearance too. So I thought that was just kind of interesting. I'm just like over here nerding out, like, okay, so the thing is that we're not necessarily like overproducing cortisol. It's just that the cortisol that we do have, our body's kind of holding on to it. Right. So I know that you said that you did have like a little bit of like trouble with like falling asleep, staying asleep, all of that kind of stuff. Like that is absolutely, so even if we're not overproducing cortisol, the fact that we're holding on to it, that's absolutely going to impact those symptoms. Right. So yeah, so really interesting things there. So this is something to really keep in mind for the hike as well, because one of the questions that we want to ask ourselves is like, okay, how do I support my nervous system and my circadian rhythm as best as possible so that we don't see like cortisol keeps spiraling. Right. And also, how do I continue to influence like lymphatic drainage, liver health, GI health, all the things. Right. Yeah. So any thoughts on that? Were you surprised whenever you saw that?
Yes, because I remember too, the very first time, so we've gone through a couple different panels. The very first one, or maybe it was the second one, my cortisol was really low. And we had talked about like, okay, probably with the symptoms you're seeing and
I think that was your first one.
Yes. So my cortisol was really low. Yes. And I'm like, oh, I expected it to be high because that's just what you associate with. And so this time around, I'm like, cortisol, it's going to be fine. I'm not going to have any issues with cortisol. No problems.
Yes. And so even with that low cortisol as well, I think that's another one that's important to talk about, because most people just think of cortisol, they think high, right? But a lot of women, they do experience low cortisol, especially whenever they're at kind of like this end stage. We don't really call it adrenal fatigue. That's not really like a medically known term. But I will say that this end stage stress response where it's like, okay, now the adrenals are like, all right, we're not pumping out any cortisol now. Yeah. And now we're so fatigued, so joint achy, so tired, so low motivation. So yeah, it was interesting to see the swing. And I mean, along with your DHEA levels, because that's also a marker of adrenal production, those have always kind of consistently been low, which we've talked about. And I believe we even supplemented to support DHEA at one point too. And I can't remember if we saw like a massive difference with it. I don't think we saw a big
think we
difference
did.
until we got into like the mold and the GI and EBV.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I think big picture high cortisol, I
Yes.
have to be totally real. I have a problem, and I know we've talked about it a million times, and it's one of the big things you talk about is staying off your phone and sunlight.
Yep.
And that's, as we are recording this right now, Easter has just passed, and I'm Catholic,
Yep.
so we do Lent over here.
Yep.
I gave up social media for Lent, so that's why I have no YouTube videos posted
Wow.
for the last 4 or 5 weeks, nothing.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
huge.
Yes. So I'm like, I would like it to be my body's fault, but it's definitely like I am addicted to my phone.
Yeah.
I have hours of screen time every day, which,
oh man, it's
you know,
hard.
disrupts your sleep.
Yes. Blue light, like we have to think about, yes, like our circadian rhythm is so backwards anymore, right? Like we're getting blue light at night, we're not getting enough sun throughout the day.
Right.
Oh my god. And again, like our circadian rhythm, it follows the sun, right? It follows the rise and fall of the sun. So yes, I 100%, I have my blue light, I got my blue light blocking glasses right here, these orange guys. So yes, so important. So important. Yeah.
Really think coming back, my prediction, although my prediction was this time that my cortisol is going to be fine.
Yep.
Don't take what I think is going to happen for
Honestly,
anything.
that's the crazy thing about functional testing too, is that sometimes like a lot of times we can predict and we can really see patterns, but sometimes it throws you for a loop. And that's also when too, like you do have to look at the bigger picture and kind of like, where is this coming from? Why are we holding on to it? All of the things. Yeah.
So I'm hoping the sunlight, getting constant vitamin D, getting the sunlight.
That's what I'm hoping too.
Yes.
That's what I think. And again, I feel like it could swing one of two ways, right? It's
Yes.
like either like, okay, real like hike is really putting a lot of stress on the body, or it's actually kind of helping to like reset that circadian rhythm a little bit with all the sunlight and everything of that sort. So yeah, so those were the biggest items from the Dutch test. And I wanted to start with the Dutch test because I really kind of wanted to put like that cortisol on like, I don't even want to say a pillar, but just kind of like making it known that like, hey, this was high, you know? And also, again, another really big piece here is that we know that there's kind of like this negative feedback loop with like cortisol and body fat gain, right?
Yes.
High cortisol makes it a lot easier for us to store belly fat specifically, right? Like that visceral fat. But then also like weight gain as well can also elevate cortisol as well. So it's kind of like, okay, negative feedback.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
and that's super interesting too, because my body type, I've always had huge hips. My legs have always been big. My arms have always been big, which I didn't realize is also a symptom of lymphedema.
Lymphedema, yes.
But I have never, ever had a belly or like, even at my highest weight, I still wore a size small t-shirt. Or extra small t-shirt. And now, I'm starting to get a little belly fat. And I'm like, oh, I'm almost 40, I guess. But
girl,
now,
you did not look almost 40.
Thank you. The quarter, I've looked in the mirror and I'm like, where is this belly coming from? And it makes sense. The cortisol level. Kind of makes sense.
I think that's a really good like double click point as well, of just like a reminder of like, everyone's body's so different, you know what I mean? And like, I always joke too, like, I will never not have a belly. Like, I will always, that's where I gain first, that's where I lose first. And I think a lot of women get very frustrated whenever they're trying to lose weight or whatever it may be. Disclaimer, we can't spot reduce. Fat loss happens as a total body process. And so every single woman gains somewhere different first and loses somewhere different first. And I think there's so many women, especially like that belly area, the hips, thighs, those are some of like, and arms, those are some of the biggest areas that people are concerned with. And they think that they can just do exercises to target that fat loss. And I'm like, you can build muscle there, but you're not going to just automatically lose fat on your arms because you did tricep extensions.
I wish.
I wish, seriously.
Hasn't worked in 30 years, so.
No, those are like the 90s myths that we have to continue busting as RDs. So, anything else on the Dutch that
No, I think that was pretty clear.
Okay, so let's move into the GI map. So GI map is primarily looking at our large intestine. So it's showing us, I love the GI map, I nerd out on it so much. So it's showing us opportunistic bacteria, so bacteria that can really impact us, especially if we're immunocompromised. It shows us pathogenic bacteria, so bacteria that, could really cause like gastroenteritis, a lot of big issues. It also has a really cool part at the end that shows us like digestive health markers. So it can show us markers of colon cancer. I actually caught stage 1 colon cancer in a friend's, did I ever tell you about this?
No.
Oh my God. In a friend's fiance. This was probably 2 years ago because his doctor would not do a colonoscopy for him. And so he was having terrible GI issues. We did a GI map. His occult blood was elevated, which is always an immediate referral out to a GI doc. I said, you take this to him. You say, I have occult blood in the stool. I need to get a colonoscopy right now.
Yeah.
Stage 1 colon cancer. Insane.
Wow.
So those are just the moments where you're like, this is why we do what we do.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
this is where functional testing can be so helpful. So I was telling Ashley before we started this, I was like, girl, your GI map, now if y'all would have seen her GI map like last year, especially what's interesting, we did the initial GI map. And we found like the fungal infection, and then we went through a lot of protocols, nutrition, supplementation, all that kind of stuff, and then we did a second GI map, and like that thing, there was a lot of red on there, like a lot of flags.
Yes.
The fungal infection was gone.
Yes.
But now we had a host of other items going on. So we found H. pylori, and H. pylori is something that we do not want present. I mean, at least not overgrown. It is actually very common that a lot of people have H. pylori, but we just don't want it overgrown. We don't want any virulence factors. So virulence factors are basically like the genetic potential for it to turn into like cancer or something more serious. And so it can cause stomach ulcers, acid reflux, like a lead weight feeling in your stomach, all the things. So we found H. pylori on your last GI map. That has since gone, which we're so happy about, so that is cleared up. You did not have any pathogenic bacteria flagged high. Our commensal bacteria too, so our commensal bacteria is kind of like our normal like keystone bacteria. We don't want too much of it, we don't want too little of it. And on the GI map, it kind of has like a sliding scale of like red, yellow, green. And so yours were honestly all in like a pretty good spot. We had a lot of low on your last one. So again, I know that you had gone through that specific H. pylori protocol whenever you left. And so I do think that probably really helped. We also had a lot of high opportunistic bacteria on your last one too. And now barely anything. We got one little guy, so we have streptococcus, which is high. I'm going to tell you what, every single GI map, that guy's high. Yeah. Every single one. It's pretty much just a marker of overall like GI inflammation. And again, not something to write home about, not something to be like, we have to fix this now type of thing. But so, no more fungi in use, thank gosh.
Yes.
No more viruses, no parasites, thank the Lord. And then your intestinal health markers. So really the biggest items on your GI map that I want to point to is number one, your elastase. So with your elastase, I believe that, I can't remember where it was at before, but it did improve a little bit. Okay. It did improve a bit. But with that being said, so elastase is essentially, it's like a direct marker of pancreatic function. So it's basically telling us, hey, pancreas might not be doing its job as well, and we might not be producing as many like digestive enzymes as we want. So we don't want that to be too low. Now yours isn't showing like pancreatic insufficiency or anything. Right. It was more so just showing like decreased output. So we definitely want to support digestive enzymes a bit more, which you've been on and off for a couple times throughout our time working together. Interesting, we do have, so if you remember, your secretory IgA, so your sec IgA, that's basically like your first line of defense in the gut immune system against pathogenic bacteria. That was sky high. Yes. The very first time we did a GI map. Like, it was over 6,000. It didn't, the GI map didn't even have a number for it. It was just over 6,000. So we're like, okay. So that was essentially telling us like, hey, the body is really reacting to what we probably thought was like the fungal infection, the mold, obviously EBV, all that kind of stuff. So with that being said, Now we have kind of seen that did come down a lot after all of the protocols, but now we've kind of seen it swung the other way, where it's lower now, which is really interesting. And so again, kind of like big picture here is, number one, high stress, high cortisol, that can decrease your mucosal sensitivity, and it can decrease your mucosal immunity and integrity too. So kind of like breaking down like that gut barrier. Right. And so again, really just like really stress sensitive. So that's something that I do want to point out. But again, not something that I would say like, oh my goodness, like this is something that we need to be afraid of, more so something that we want to support. So that low secretory IgA, so that we kind of have like those good guys to protect the immune system, and so we don't have a lot of other pathogenic bacteria overgrowing. Right. Essentially. So that was a big one. And then the other thing was our anti-gliadin IgA was in a great range, which is great. Because you've been very gluten-free.
Yes, very gluten-free. And there was, at one point, I'm like, it was last year, I thought, well, first, I had felt so good for a while. And I'm like, I wonder if I could start reintroducing gluten. And so I didn't plan on doing it, but I have a neighbor who I've been taking him back and forth to appointments for cancer. He has had, and I'm going to back up for a minute. I will say, I make my own homemade bone broth.
Okay, love. I need that. Oh,
yes. And
queen for that. You're a queen for that. I wish I had the patience. I'm going to need to come to you for that at some point.
We have a freeze dryer, which you guys know. And so I freeze dry my bone broth afterward, after I make it. And I gave him, like I blended it up, gave him the powder because he had no appetite. He couldn't eat. And he's a big dude who loves to, I don't know anybody that loves food more than my friend here. And so I gave him, I'm like, you know, you're going through cancer treatments. What can I give you to support your health and also that maybe you'll be able to do? So the only thing he could eat for months, all he had was this bone broth and some bread. So after however many, it was like a year of treatments, he's like, I feel like I could eat again. I'm really excited to eat. I want to go to a Chinese buffet. And I'm like, I can't eat at a Chinese buffet. Because everything is breaded. There's soy sauce and everything. I don't know a single thing that probably isn't exposed to gluten. But what am I supposed to tell this guy?
And
I'm like, I don't have celiac. It's not going to kill me. It'll be okay.
You're like, it's fine. I'll just do it once.
Let's just go. So we go. And I eat like 2 plates full, because once I started, I love Chinese, and I hadn't had it in like 2 years.
Same. So, especially a buffet like that. So good.
Totally went ham. We had a great time together. It was a wonderful experience. And then my mother-in-law, she wanted to go, we took her to this brunch buffet somewhere in Pittsburgh. And it was phenomenal. I would love to go back again. But they had like homemade donuts and different things, and I was like, well, I just had Chinese and I feel fine. It was fine. So I ate whatever I wanted there, and the next day, for several days, I felt like I got hit by a bus.
Girl.
And I'm like, ooh, the gluten is a problem.
It's a problem. So we've determined that. We have made that 100% clear. And I think that is also really important too for people to hear as well, is like, my goal is always, and you know, maybe I should have started with this as well, is like, I take a very balanced approach. Like I am an all foods fit kind of dietitian. Like I want my clients to be able to eat the foods that they love and get in the micronutrients and not have to have like these strict diet, strict protocols, whatever it may have you. But when you are dealing with all of the host of issues that you deal with on a daily basis, sometimes you simply do just feel better without gluten or dairy or whatever may have you for some people. And so I think that is a very real possibility for a lot of people, especially in autoimmunity cases, especially because I think this is something super important to note too, is like gluten actually increases something called zonulin in the gut. So zonulin actually acts to, like, we have these really tight barriers in our gut. You might have heard of the term leaky gut. We call it intestinal permeability in the clinical world. And so you have these really tight barriers, and zonulin that gluten can increase can kind of like cause those barriers to open up and particles and pathogens to get out into the body, and also particles and pathogens from the body get into the GI tract, which we also don't want, right? And so I think that's a really, really big item that like a lot of my clients do see, who are dealing with issues like this, do see improvements with decreasing gluten or completely removing. Your cult blood was actually high on the last GI map. I had actually forgotten about that. I was like, oh my gosh, that was high. So obviously that has since come down, which is huge win. And our calprotectin, it actually was a bit higher than this on last GI map too. And it is still in that yellow range. It is still a bit elevated, so signaling like some GI inflammation, but not nearly as bad as it was.
Yes.
So we've seen improvements.
Huge improvements.
So yeah, like I was so happy when I opened up your GI map. I was like, yeah. I was doing a little dance to myself because I was like, seriously, like, and also you have to give yourself props because you have put in so much of the work over I mean the years that we worked together.
Yes.
And then also over the past year, even just after leaving. Like you really did stick to the things that we talked about. So anything else with the GI map at all?
No, I was so curious when I did the GI mapping, which is like you said, it's one of your very favorite tests, and it's hilarious to do, and I have some stories I could tell you guys about the first one I did, but we'll talk about that in private. Anybody that meets me along the trail, I'll tell you the whole story acted out with theatrics.
So funny. I always say nothing like shipping your poop.
Yep.
Oh
my gosh. Yeah. No, I was very pleased with that. Just mostly following what you left me with.
Right.
But I stopped tracking things, which felt really good for me.
Yes.
And I still focusing on fiber, focusing on protein, fluids, getting tons of fruits and vegetables in, but continuing to see that weight creep up, which is on the activity levels went way down. I did a 100-mile hike to practice this summer. I messed up my feet. I did way too much, way too quick. And so I rested them afterward and then just I felt really good resting. My joints felt good not working out, and I just got rather sedentary.
Yes.
So I wasn't surprised that number on the scale kept going up, and I kept just getting bigger and my clothes don't fit. But I expected my GI mapping to be way worse than I was like, I just keep gaining weight. I'm gonna have some problems.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Really not bad.
I was really happy with that, especially with one of the markers. So a lot of times, especially with weight gain and like things like insulin resistance, we often see this specific marker. It is called akromansia. A lot of times we'll see that low, and like yours was in a pretty good spot too. That's a pretty good marker of like metabolic health. So yeah. And you also have to think too, like you said, like with the activity levels as well, and like those really like drastically decreasing for a period of time, but then obviously like now you're back into things and everything like that, so heavily impacts our overall energy expenditure and everything. Then we have our comprehensive hormone panel and our blood work. So biggest thing here, and this is going to kind of tie into our GI map. So one of the big things that I want to note is that some levels of your nutrients were actually pretty low, like your vitamin D levels. And now how much vitamin D are you currently taking?
It's a great question. I know I'm taking the vitamin D and K.
So it's probably 5,000 IUs. So this is what's interesting. Whenever we see somebody with low vitamin, because yours were clinically low.
Yes.
Low vitamin D levels and supplementing vitamin D are like, well, what the heck? What's going on, right? Is it an absorption issue? Could we be dealing with maybe like a low stomach acid? Again, the low digestive enzyme output. So again, we are not maybe absorbing those like fat soluble vitamins as well. So some things that I like to think about, B vitamin levels were also not like clinically low, but on the lower end.
Right.
So typically I like to see those closer to like 600 to 800, yours around like 348. And then your iron levels dropped a good bit as well, which is also shocking, yes, because you do, now I'm not sure, whenever you left me, you had been making your own beef liver supplement, right?
Yes, I did not continue with that. It got put on the back burner, but I'll tell you.
That's a lot of work. I mean, you know?
Yes, I'm a meat eater. I like beef. I am a beef
Oh my gosh, I eat beef every single day.
Yes.
Lean beef, 93.7 or 96.4.
Yes.
But I love my beef.
Yes, I eat it several times a week.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit, and even my other things, like if I'm having spinach or something that is a plant-based.
Yeah, like pairing it with
Like
vitamin C. Yes.
I'm pretty conscious. You just get used to it as a dietitian.
Yeah. Our whole life is food.
Yes. So I'm like, and my periods haven't been crazy heavy.
Right.
And so I'm like,
yeah.
it's a little surprising.
That's where I come back to, could this be like digestive enzyme stomach acid related? So moving into your inflammation and blood glucose markers. So this is what was a little bit interesting to me as well, because obviously with the weight gain, a lot of times we're going to see insulin start to elevate.
Right.
And so this is, a lot of people deal with insulin resistance and live with insulin resistance and don't even realize it. And essentially what's happening here is insulin is that hormone that goes into the bloodstream, takes sugar out of the bloodstream, and moves it into your cells and tissues, lowering blood sugar levels, right? But whenever the cells and tissues of the body are not responsive to insulin, essentially insulin can't do its job, right? So it's kind of like knocking at the door and you know, the door isn't opening up, so all of the sugar is piling up in the blood.
Right.
That then is telling the pancreas, hey, we gotta pump out more insulin to fix this problem. And then you get elevated levels of insulin, elevated levels of blood sugar.
Right.
Now, with your insulin levels, they did come up a bit since last labs, but definitely not nearly as elevated as I might expect to see them.
Right.
They're around a 9.5. Optimally, we like to see them around a 5. So I typically do start like doing some intervention, typically when clients' insulin's creeping up around like 8, 9, 10 plus, you know. So those were a bit more elevated. Your C-reactive protein elevated right above like clinical levels. So optimally, we like to see it between a 1 and a 2, below a 1. But clinically, they say normal is below a 3. Now, CRP is that non-specific inflammatory marker.
Right.
So again, hard to say exactly like
Yes.
where is this coming from, but obviously we know you chronically deal with a lot of inflammation in your body, you know?
Yes. And if I remember right, my CRP before was
really high, and
Yes.
then it came down into normal. Now it's back up elevated a little bit. So I would also too assume some of that probably is the weight gain too.
Right.
You know, so but we had dropped your CRP a lot while working together. I think it was like a 12 at one point. Yeah, so we definitely saw a lot of improvement there. Your fasting blood glucose was at an 84, which is perfect range. Now, fasting blood glucose, that bounces around every single day. So we really like to see, again, just like with anything, we like to see trends. And then your A1C, which is a marker of, okay, where has blood glucose been over the past 3 months? That was in a great range as well, 5.3. So you were really solid there. So that's also telling us that like blood sugar hasn't been insanely elevated over the last few months. So happy to see that. But again, like we also know that number one, chronic stress can increase glucose output. It can impact those insulin levels. And obviously, like we know it can impact that visceral fat. It, along with that elevated CRP, that's going to kind of go hand in hand with insulin levels, CRP. So we did have a bit of a metabolic shift, but maybe not as big of one as we would have expected. Right. You know? So, but again, we also have to think of your diet quality, right? Like now, like you are moving more, like you've been, you know, training for this hike, you're lifting more, all the things, you know? So all of those play such a big role. And so again, I think we just go back to the conversation of like, okay, even if we're living in a bigger body, people do not see the efforts and the internal health and also like all of the work that we're putting into our health.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's so huge. Thyroid. Thyroid's a biggie here.
Yeah.
So your thyroid, so last time we actually had your thyroid tested, it was creeping up, but it wasn't anything too crazy. I believe it was around like a 3-ish something. And just for reference here as well, optimally we like to see TSH between a 1 and a 2. Thyroid is one of those markers that doctors will be like, yep, you're normal, it's fine, without looking at the full picture. So we did full panel for you, TSH, free T4, free T3, reverse T3, and antibodies. So the interesting thing here is that your TSH is very elevated, but your actual thyroid hormone, so your free T4 and your free T3, T4 is inactive, T3 is active, that conversion actually looks really good. Like your free T4 is converting really well into free T3. So that is a really solid like check in the check mark for your metabolism. Now, essentially what this kind of means is that your body is still doing its job, but your brain is having to work a bit harder to like make sure that things stay level. Like it's having to send more signals to the thyroid to produce thyroid hormone. And that's why we see that TSH going up. I have an analogy here that I always like to use. Like I look at like TSH as like a thermostat. And like right now, like your house is warm, but the thermostat is like working overtime to keep it warm, essentially. So we also didn't see that your reverse T3 was elevated. So sometimes with thyroid issues, we can be converting T4 into more reverse T3. A lot of times that will happen in times of things like stress, estrogen dominance, nutrient deficiencies, but that's not happening here. So that's a good thing. And your antibodies, so specifically your TPO antibodies, which basically signals autoimmune thyroid activity. Like the body is looking at the thyroid as a foreign invader. It's kind of increasing those antibodies to attack the thyroid. Those are still elevated, but they've come down since your last labs, which is interesting. Yes.
Really?
Yes. Only by a little bit, but they have come down.
Okay.
So that is interesting to me too is I'm wondering if it's like there's probably a lot of different factors playing a role here into thyroid. Obviously, cortisol levels, iron, vitamin D, B vitamin status going to play a really big role. But also, I also wonder if it's the length of time that these antibodies have been present that are now playing a bigger role on the thyroid and increasing that TSH. Okay. So I would have thought that I would have seen them go up, you know, but that also does kind of speak to like some of the immune work you've done as well.
Right.
And your immune response and your gut has also come down too.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of different pieces of the puzzle there. But I would say that like a really big piece of this too is definitely like we want to make sure that we get like that nutrient status, that we're absorbing well all of the things, because the thyroid, I always tell clients, it's a nutrient dependent gland. You know what I mean? So like we need all of those good like zinc, B vitamins, selenium, iodine, all the things to make sure it's working properly.
Thank God I talked to you.
Yeah.
Because I saw these levels and I don't know, I totally forgot that my TPO had been elevated before.
Yes.
This is the first time I am recalling seeing it, but I have a terrible memory.
There's a lot to remember here. You know?
I started, I'm like, oh, I have Hashimoto's. Like, I've sent myself, I have an autoimmune disease already. So, I've sent myself into Hashimoto's. The gluten, it makes sense. What am I going to do with this? And so, when I went to my doctor and I was like, here are the levels. And she's like, well, TPO, it's autoimmune. She's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to see an endocrinologist? Do you want to, and I was like, she's like, we'll start you on medication. And I was like, no, I'm going to go on this hike and I'm going to see how it does after, because I'm going to be a lot more active and my diet quality is going to get even better now than what it is even at home. And she's like, that's not going to work. We're going to start you on levothyroxine. Yes, thank you. And I am so resistant to pharmaceuticals. I think they have their place.
They do, yeah.
Just not in me right now.
And I think that that's something that's so important. And I think it should be a disclaimer, honestly, on this whole video that none of this is medical advice ever, right? Like what one person does for their body is so important. And it has to be a decision that you feel good about.
Yes.
I think it's also really important because I work with a lot of clients on thyroid medication that you have different options, right? Like, I think a lot of times we go to doctors and they only want to put us on T4. They don't even think about like combinations of T4, T3. And again, they're not looking at, okay, like what is elevating the antibodies in the first place, right? So it's not to say that it couldn't be something of use and helpful down the road, and I'm really glad you talked to your doctor about it. But again, like, you know, going on this hike, seeing kind of where things are at afterward too, like that has to be something that feels good for you, and also supporting it from all these different angles, nutrition, gut health, all the things.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. But it can be alarming to see that for sure.
Yes, I feel way better because I thought, okay, is this something, because once your thyroid is like, once it's given up, there's not, or if you don't have it, like you have to go on that medication. You have to, there's not another option. So this whole time I'm like, did I send myself all the way to the end? Can I not support this? Which, you know, when it's yourself, you don't think as logically. You start thinking doomed thoughts.
Absolutely. And so it's good to see that your T4 to T3 conversion is very much so still there, you know? And I can't sit here and say that you won't need medication at some point, right? But I think it's very easy for us to go down the rabbit hole, down the spiral of, oh my gosh, I've ruined everything, like, trust me. And we know too much. Like, sometimes ignorance is bliss, truly.
Yes.
It's really hard when you work in the field that we do, and you're like, this means this means this. Like, I don't know if your husband feels this way, but my fiance is probably like, all right, I get it.
Yes. He's like, oh, what's wrong with you now?
No, seriously.
What is it now?
Yeah.
What supplement are we ordering today?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. But I do think that, again, this is something that we want to be really cognizant of. I'll be really curious to see where this is at after the hike.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Now, your other autoimmunity markers, like things like ANA, your SED rate, like complement C3, C4, those were all negative. These are more in the realm of like a rheumatologist's best scope of practice. But I was just curious, especially with that ANA, because sometimes we can see ANA is a non-specific autoimmune marker. So sometimes we can see that elevated with like Hashimoto's or autoimmune thyroiditis. So good to see that that's not elevated, but again, not something that we want to just brush under the rug either. And then your sex hormones. So your DHEA's still hanging out pretty low. You know, that is honestly, I will say, like pretty to be expected with where your kind of cortisol levels are at too. A lot of times, like we will, especially whenever we do see some of that dysfunction, we'll see cortisol high, DHEA low. And then sometimes it starts to follow suit as well, like that cortisol will drop back down. So sometimes it kind of comes and goes in waves. But like I said, your progesterone to estrogen ratio, pretty dang good. There's a little bit of like mild estrogen dominance, but nothing to write home about. Like nothing insane. That also can happen with a bit more weight gain as well, because again, fat does hold on to estrogen. So a lot of times whenever I see clients who will lose weight, they will then, you know, those estrogen levels start to come down. Testosterone, total is within a pretty usual range. Free still really, really low. So that's going to continue to impact our, you know, our joints, our muscles, fatigue, that kind of stuff. And you know, something that's interesting too is like I really like to use a mineral boron to help. So a lot of times whenever free testosterone is low, that means that our sex hormone binding globulin, say that 5 times fast, is high, and so there's not a lot of testosterone available to be used, right? So I really like to use boron to help lower that SHBG and bring testosterone free test up. I feel like we had used boron in you at some point.
I think for a little bit, and then we moved on to the mold kind of took precedence.
100%, yep. And then your cortisol levels. So this is what's really interesting is, do you remember what time you got these blood labs drawn?
The blood labs?
Okay.
Yes. They opened at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
But I will tell you. First of all, normally I sleep in, but
we love that. I love sleeping in. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Sleep in if you have the opportunity to. I had somebody the other day look at me like I was crazy when I told them I sleep in at 10 till 10. I'm like, I am engaged. I don't have kids yet. Like, I'm living my life. I'm sleeping.
Yes. Please do.
Recovery is important.
But where I live, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, of course. So you have to drive.
Yes. Yeah. The closest lab to me was an hour and a half away. So by the time I woke up, got myself ready, it was probably 2 at least 2 hours after I had woken up.
So whenever you did your 2 hours after waking on the Dutch test, it was around like 9:40. So
Okay.
I was curious if that was probably around the time that you had gotten there, but it sounds like it was probably like 8:30ish by the time you had gotten there, maybe, for the blood labs.
No, the blood labs I got done at 7.
Oh, you got done at 7?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Amazing. So that's even more interesting because if we can see on your Dutch test, your like your waking here was pretty high. On blood, not as high. Now, was it like it was in the middle range, but sometimes urine can be a little bit more sensitive to cortisol than something like blood. Like I usually always use urine testing to look at the actual diurnal rhythm versus blood. So I think that that's just something that, again, we take into consideration. And that's why it's cool to look at all of these different methods of testing, you know?
Well, and maybe too, because the day that I got the blood work done, and it was at 7, I had woken up at 5 o'clock.
Aha, so that makes sense as well.
Yeah.
So that wasn't after, that was over 2 hours after waking, you know?
Yes.
So, well, yeah, I guess it would have been like right around there.
Close
So,
enough.
Yep. So that's really interesting. So again, it also is something where that cortisol could have just started falling as well. So something to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would personally say, like, I think biggest items here is, and I kind of put this here, like, for like goals for the hike, is like number one, like, really making sure that we kind of like keep that circadian rhythm and cortisol in check, right? Keep it from spiraling, protecting our gut and immune system well.
Yes.
And really supporting kind of like that digestive capacity. Preventing any further thyroid trade. Hopefully we see things improve.
Yes.
And obviously like fuel really well to support the metabolic changes, the nutrient quality, all that kind of stuff.
So I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown on my nutrition plan.
Yes, I would love to hear. I think we talked about this a bit, but
Yes. So I do every day. I have a little packet. I made myself little Mylar packets of freeze-dried bone broth, and I bought some commercial ones as well.
Yep.
And I like to put a little bit of acid in my bone broth because I like the way it tastes.
Yeah.
So a little apple cider vinegar in there.
Yes.
So that is a daily plan for every single day. I have
Amazing.
it already in the boxes that I'm sending.
Love it.
And
When
then-
you told me that your husband is shipping the boxes to you, I was like, this is genius.
Yes.
This is also insane. I love it.
It is absolutely insane. For anybody that doesn't care so much about their diet quality or doesn't have dietary restrictions, what I am doing is insane for you. But if you do, a lot of the women that are on the trail this year, they have several dietary restrictions.
Wow, okay.
And the guy that I'm going with can't do dairy.
Wow.
Or there'll be consequences for me if he eats dairy.
Right.
So
seriously, serious consequences. We don't want that happening.
So some of these resupply boxes might be a great idea, but I just kind of separated. I have at least 30 or 40 grams of protein for breakfast, and then again for lunch, and then again for dinner, and then snacks in between. So I focused on between 140 and 160 grams of protein, which honestly probably need more than that with what we're doing. But that's what I can get in the box. You can only fit so much in the box.
Yes.
And then making sure with some of the, I don't know if I told you this, you guys know if you watched some of the videos already, the graduate students from IUP.
Yeah.
Jody Siebold did a plan, like a 3-week plan with breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks for the hike. And
oh my gosh, so cool!
Yes.
I love that.
So we tested out some of the recipes, but once I started putting it together, I'm like, which is such a funny thing to say, too much fiber.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And again, another misconception, more fiber is not always better either.
Yes.
Can cause a lot of GI issues.
Yes. I normally get I'd say most days when I'm actually paying attention, I get between 30 and 40 grams of fiber a day.
Yep.
Which is, my body's used to that, that's fine. If you don't get that much, don't start with that.
No,
that will be a
work
disaster
your
for
way
you.
up, seriously.
Yes. So I have kind of had to focus on pulling out some fiber
Yeah.
from these boxes, because you do a protein bar, a Bear Bells bar.
Yep.
There's several grams of protein in there. Or have you done a Thru bar yet?
No.
Oh, they're good.
Ooh, okay.
Yes,
I'm gonna
it is
try
a
them.
plant-based protein,
Love.
but there's like 10 or 11 grams of fiber.
Wow.
in some of those.
That's a lot for a bar.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
There is a lot. So I have to sparingly put that bar in.
Yeah.
And it has to be when I'm not doing one of the meals that they made.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't do that and quinoa and...
No, oh my gosh, no. Oh my gosh. That's so cool that they did that for you though. Where do you feel like you're gonna land with, I can't remember, are you going to be tracking carbs and fats? Because carbs will be so incredibly important on this hike. Especially for obviously the fuel and the thyroid health as well, and cortisol is what I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll say the majority of it is a high quality carbohydrate.
Yep.
A lot of it.
Yep.
But at the same time, like I have fruit roll-ups every single day.
Of course! I think I
because-
had like fruit leather somewhere in my plan. Like
Yes.
these the quick simple carbs as well too.
Yes. And I do have some actual real fruit leather, and
Love that.
I did, like, I pureed fruits and made like a
Amazing.
fruit puree, not an applesauce, just like a fruit sauce.
Yeah.
Just a lot of different things like that, and which is fabulous.
Yes.
But then also with the fats, it can be, they're so heavy,
Yes.
but they pack a lot of calories and they leave you satisfied. So I also I have organic extra virgin olive oil, and I just made little Mylar packets with some of them as 1 tablespoon, some of it is 3 tablespoons.
Amazing.
And every day I have 1 or 2 of those.
Yep.
And then, simple carbs. There's a guy near us that does maple syrup, and like it's local, cooked forest trees.
Perfect.
So I did little sleeves of that as well.
Yep.
I'm like, that'll be a quick carb.
Yep, you're hitting everything on my list because I know
Yes.
we kind of talked about that too. Like I also really love plantain chips.
Oh,
Like
yes.
plantain chips, dates, really really yummy. So like kind of going going with the dried fruit theme.
Yes.
I love a chopstick.
Oh,
So
chomps.
good.
Yep.
So good.
It's in there.
What kind do you like? I started with the turkey, and I felt like it was so dry. I like the beef.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a beef girly.
Yeah,
I
yeah. Love the chopsticks, the Go macro bars I love.
Yep.
Which they are, like they're a little bit less protein, but they're still really great for like carbs, fats, like more calories if you need them. And you know me and my pumpkin seeds. Love them. Protein, fiber, zinc, magnesium, all the things for thyroid health.
Yes.
So yeah, it sounds like you have some really good snacks in there.
Yes.
And just like the breakfast, lunch, dinner plan, I love that so much.
We're trying to balance it. We're trying to get there.
Yes, yes, 100%. And I will say too, I think just one other note on like the carbohydrates is I think so many women are afraid to eat carbs.
Yes.
You know, and like that's the biggest thing that again people are like, I gotta limit the carbs, I gotta stay away from them. Again, carbohydrate type matters so much. What we're pairing them with, a protein, fat, and fiber matters, and also our timing matters too.
Right.
Like, are we eating them around movement? Can our body use them as quick sources of fuel? You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And things like the macro bar are great, or
Yes.
really any of these things, because I'm gonna need to stop at lunchtime. Previously, when I have hiked before, I will eat like a quick breakfast while I'm packing camp up, and then for lunch, I just snack the whole time. I don't stop. I don't do anything. And I like bars for that, especially like a macro bar, because you can just open it up and eat it while you're walking.
Yeah, so easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think there are some, I talked to my hiking partner and I'm like, I know I'm not going to want to and you're not going to want to, but we have to stop and put our feet up. Like, we have to prioritize that for lunchtime.
Yeah. And then I just put in some other items to consider for your just like overall health, right? Things like getting morning sunlight within 30 minutes of waking, helping with that circadian rhythm, aiming for a really consistent wake and sleep schedule. So like not swinging too far one way or the other. Considering sleep tools, which I don't know if you have like eye mask, earplugs, in case, I don't know if you feel like you're a light sleeper. If, you know, those things could get in the way. And also just really regulating before we eat, slowing down, chewing fully, making sure the food gets digested and absorbed. Continuing on with any lymphatic drainage support, and just shifting that nervous system down before bed. So the usuals, you know, a lot of, like, you have such a great opportunity to, like, take this hike and shift it from like, oh my goodness, this is stressful on my body to, oh no, like this is purposeful and reflective and all of the things. So like, I think that's going to be massive.
When I got my Dexa scan done, I expected a lot of the different information in there, but one that I was surprised about until I thought about it later is that my bone density is a little bit low.
Yes.
And at first I'm like, what do you mean my bone density is low? It shouldn't be low. And then I remembered I was on the depot shot for years, from being a teenager until I was like in my mid-20s.
First thing I was going to ask you is, what's your history of birth control use?
Yes. So just as any of you women who are in your younger years right now, really consider whether birth control is absolutely necessary for you, because you have short and long-term serious consequences with it.
Yes.
And you have if you want to know more about birth control and coming off of birth control,
yes,
hook up with Kara. She can give you an entire rundown.
Of how it rocked my world for 5 years straight, truly.
Yes.
And I will say too, to that point, it's like, it's also so important that like, I think a lot of women are like, oh, like, I don't get a period, so like it's great, or like whatever may have you. Again, like understanding that like getting a regular period, that means that progesterone, estrogen, all of your sex hormones are in flux. Those play such a massive role in your bone health.
Yes.
And those not being low, and also strength training and resistance training is going to be such a big factor in that, right? Like we do these things for now. It's like, of course, we are allowed to want fat loss and want aesthetics, absolutely. But as we get older and into our 30s and 40s and 50s, it's like, these things become a lot more about long-term health.
Yes, absolutely. And part of that, so making sure, I know a lot of people, at least the men who have done this, their bone density on a through hike goes down. It really gets affected during a through hike. But the diet quality for most of them is terrible.
Yeah. What does that look like?
Yes.
They're living off of like jerky sticks and Monsters.
Yes. Honey buns, Pop-Tarts, ramen. I do have I have Greek yogurt for mornings. I'm cold soaking some Greek yogurt, different things. Like the protein powders that I have most of them are a dairy based, not as many are plant based. My calcium it's okay with what I have packed. What do you recommend if you can't get it from a dietary source as well? Do you recommend supplementation for people? And if so, what is your recommendation?
I'm going to be so honest with you. I don't think I've ever actually recommended calcium supplementation to anyone. And that is often also because I do typically use like a pretty... you're going to get really different opinions on this about like multivitamins. I think that they are great for especially something like this.
Yes.
And whenever we don't have the means to be purchasing like all of these different like minerals and vitamins, like I think you can get some really quality multivitamins out there, and most of the multis I have used have the calcium already in it. So, but I would say that yes, if we are not getting it through diet, I do think a calcium supplement could be really beneficial. Like calcium, vitamin K, vitamin D, of course. And a lot of times with calcium, like you are going to want to pair it with vitamin D and K, because obviously they're working synergistically. And also vitamin K helps vitamin D to absorb. And like vice versa with calcium. So I think pairing those together would be really beneficial. But that is something that's new to me, is I've never actually just singularly recommended a calcium supplement. Right. But I do think it would be beneficial. And I want to look at how much is in your multivitamin now. I'm not sure if you know.
I don't think there's any.
What could we add in? And if so, how much? Because that's also going to be individualized.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I'm so glad that you got that testing done as well, and also saw that, because I don't think many women do think about bone health, especially as we get older.
Right. It's important.
Yeah. Very really important. Yeah.
Oh. And I really hope, I think my legs will be fine, because I'm going to put I don't know why I say here.
That's fine. I do that all the time. Every single time I'm talking to clients, I'm like, we. I'm like, it's actually you, but I'm just here with you on your shoulder, so.
so interesting because you think, okay, well, you're just walking or hiking. I'm going to be carrying probably close to, because I have a lot of things that I have in there that I want to be comfortable with, like 30 pounds on my back, walking. I'm going to be bearing, it's a weight bearing exercise.
Yes, yes.
So my legs, maybe I'll get some improvement in my bone density on my legs, but my arms, they're going to need some help when I get out. I'm going to need to start lifting again.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm so excited for you to do this. I also just want to say how proud I am of this woman. She has been through so much in her health and fitness journey, and you really have, like, you have come a massive, massive way. Like, it's so wild to think of us knowing each other in 2018, like, having no idea what the universe had in store for our relationship. It's so wild. So I have emails from you back in the day from my old email address, and I'm like, because I think I Googled, I'm like, shoot, I need to find something, and I Googled or searched Kara, and I'm like, well, how do I have emails from her from like 2017 or 2018? And I was like, we were working on a project together. Yep. I remember. I think it was about sugar sweetened beverages.
Probably. Yes.
So but I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited to see the results of everything afterwards too. It's gonna be really interesting.
Yes. So you guys will get to see Kara again in like 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, anybody who is interested, check her stuff out. She is a miracle worker, and those of you who have been searching for answers from your doctors forever, and it's just like, well, you just need to lose weight, or there's not actually anything wrong, it's anxiety, it's whatever, go to this girl. She will change your life.
Oh, I appreciate you so much, and thank you so much. This was so fun.
Of course.